change your heart, change your life, change the planet.
Hey everybody, it's TVO and my new friend, Sid Garza-Hillman. We're hanging out at the Seed Experience at the Brooklyn Expo Center in New York City. And rather than telling you who Sid is, I'm going to let Sid tell you who he is. He's an awesome guy. So, Sid, who are you?
I am the author of Approaching the Natural, a Health Manifesto. I am the host of the Approaching the Natural podcast. And I am the nutritionist and run the wellness center at the Stanford Inn Eco Resort on the Mendocino coast of California. That right there, boom, here, just kind of, yeah, there you go.
Doesn't that look nice?
The only vegan resort in the country. So that's what I'm doing. I'm here and spoke, and you spoke, and we bespoke.
We spoke. We're speaking.
We're speaking.
Yes, we're bespoken.
Yeah, that's all I got.
All right, so the reason that Sid is here on camera with me, aside from the fact that I walked by his table and I saw this, and I'm looking to host running retreats, so I'm looking for a center to hold that, and I think this might be the thing, and a guy, like a vegan guy running it. Also, Sid is an athlete, so tell us about your athletic endeavors.
I guess what's interesting is that I'm a father of three. My wife and I both work full time. I've been a runner my whole life, but not competitive or, frankly, not that good. But 2 years ago, I ran a couple marathons for the first time. But I do attribute my evolution in the diet, nutrition, and healthy living realm. So I've been ramping up my nutrition ever since. But anyway, so this year I ran 2 ultras for the first time. So just feeling good, kind of going, well, if I'm feeling this good, what if I ran a little farther and still feeling great, ran a little farther, and so on and so forth. So I felt it's amazing. At 46, I'm running better than I've ever run.
Funny how that happens.
It must be magic.
It must be magic. It's got to be. Or we're doping, right?
It couldn't be steroids and doping. That's what I do. Did I not mention that?
Can't tell anybody. I'll edit that part out.
Oh, good, thanks.
So, I walk by the table, I bump into Sid, I pick up the brochure, we start talking, he's an athlete, he's a vegan, he's got this retreat center, and then he shows me his book. By the way, his book is holding up my iPhone that's filming this, so his book has value.
It's
leveling
well
my
worth
camera.
Well worth the price as a tripod.
Yes. So, the thing that you told me about your book that really started this conversation right now is you said something about small steps. Could you share with my audience your view of the small step?
Early on as a nutritionist, I was frankly unsuccessful. I'd kind of do a consultation with you and then give you the plan, and then 99% of my clients wouldn't follow it for past maybe a month. And so at that point, I recrafted my entire approach and called it Approaching the Natural, but also embodied a very small step approach, but it's kind of my own unique part of that. Not everybody's small steps are the same size. So what I do is trying to help people determine this. What is the amount that you can do every day so that, number one, you could do that thing the rest of your life? You might not, but could you? And then 2, is the step going to be stressful for you? Or are you going to dread it? Because if you're going to dread it, then you're going to not do it past that time. So if I go, Tim, never moved your body, you want to start incorporating exercise because you know it's healthy. Could you handle 5 squats per day? And you go, yeah. I go, could you do that for the rest of your life? And you go, yeah, if I could do 5 squats per day. And I go, okay, good. Is that going to be stressful for you? Are you going to dread it? No, it's fine. I go, good, we're going to start there. And then you build up over time. That 5 becomes 7, becomes 9, becomes 10, becomes 20 minutes, becomes 30 minutes. Sometimes within 2-3 months, I've got people exercising 30, 40 minutes a day, and they started with 2 minutes on a trampoline. So that's the small step. That goes for food, that goes for socializing, all the things in our lives that make us feel good and happy.
So I'm skeptical. I'm not a fan of small steps. I've never really had any experience. I take big leaps.
Huge leaps.
Huge.
But maybe
leaps.
they're small for you.
These guys are so sick of hearing me talk about small steps.
I know, but you know what? I kind of, after so many people who have done diets, yo-yo dieting, done the quick fix diet, running plans and the quick fix exercise plans and the P90X, and none of these things are bad. They work, but they only work if you stick with them for long term. And so it was like, how do we crack that nut? And this is a way I've had success in this fashion.
Speaking of cracking nuts,
yes,
my nut just cracked.
Are you gonna? I thought we were gonna
I'm
talk
looking
about
out the
tech
window
story.
right over there. Do you see what's out the window? If you move your head this way a little bit, what do you see?
Buildings.
A building.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know which building
that was
that
a tough
is?
question. No, I don't, because I'm not from New York.
That's the Freedom Tower.
It is?
That is the building
Wow.
that replaced the World Trade Center. So
I
that
actually
is
didn't know that.
the new
Oh.
tallest building in America, the Freedom Tower.
Excellent.
So
I
here's
didn't know
what
that.
I'm thinking about. As
Okay.
I'm listening to you talk about little steps, and I'm looking at the Freedom Tower as you do so, I'm thinking that that's what most people want. That's what most people think they need. They need a Freedom Tower. They need this giant goal, this giant thing that's going to inspire them. I want to run a 50-mile race.
Okay.
And you're an ultra guy. I've done ultras. We know what that's like.
Yeah.
But we didn't start by saying, I want to run an ultra.
Right.
We started doing 5 squats.
Yeah.
Or 5 minutes of running, whatever
Right.
it was. We
Right.
started small.
Right.
And we built our tower, or at least that's how it looks on the outside.
Yeah.
But what a lot of people do is they're not looking for 5 squats a day. I'm not criticizing you, just the mindset that most people come at this with is that I need something huge. I need a tower that's so big, that's going to be so inspiring to me that I'm going to force myself to change, and then I will have freedom. I need a goal big enough to get me to take action so that I will be free of these habits that I currently have.
Totally agree. But there's two things going on. One is the goal, and one is how you get to the goal.
Exactly.
And I think that, if you had never exercised and you said, I want to do a marathon, and I said, good, Tim, tomorrow go run a marathon, you'd go, well, that's ridiculous. It's going to take me time to build into that. So the question is, how do you, and what I try to do is keep people's eye on the ball, which is that we want to be healthy and happy. We want to live well. So yeah, you could force yourself to run and push it every day, but that stress could weaken you, could cause injury for you. The stress of forcing yourself to maintain a diet that makes you miserable, makes you miss out on social situations with your friends because you're militant and disciplined about it, could make you sick. It could make you unhappy worse. So I think having goals are fantastic, but the question is, how can you reach those things? If you're highly motivated, your step may be bigger than someone else's step who goes, yeah, eventually I want to do that, but I'm not driven, but it'd be fun for me. So it's what's the size of your step that's not going to be stressful for you?
Yeah, and I liken it to language. My nut just cracked again, so I'm going to give you the language nut now.
Yeah.
A child, a toddler who can't speak yet, they don't understand letters yet. They don't understand words yet. They don't understand sentences yet or paragraph structure. They just know goo, ga, some basic sounds, right? So what we have to do is we have to teach that child first letters. We're going to teach you how to write. You have to know what the letters are. Practice those letters again and again and again. To an adult, learning a new language, you're not going to sit there and write, I don't want to write new letters.
Right.
Well, but that's how you learn these
Yeah,
things. If
yeah.
it's a new alphabet, you've got to start practicing letters.
Yeah.
No. I want to be able to write this language fluently. You've got to write the letters first.
Right.
Somebody that's been writing the letters for a while, now they can write words. They can
Yeah.
put those letters together, be creative, create words, and after some more practice, now they can fashion sentences.
Right.
But the kid that's in 4th grade that's writing sentences, his step is quite large compared to the kid that's learning how to write a letter. But to the kid in 4th grade, it's like, it's a sentence. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
That's not a big step.
Yeah. It's relative to
Because they built up
That's right.
to it.
That's right. So people go, oh my God, 50 mile. It's like, I used to think 50 mile was just a mind-blowing kind of thing. It's not. I got there in my own time. I'm not a great runner, but I just eased my way in the way that I did with the way that I'm coaching everybody else to do that, And it's just, again, it comes down to, the challenge I think for me is that the draw and the marketing of diets really draws people in. So they go, okay, that sounds great, Sid, but this diet says I can lose 10 pounds in 20 days. And it may work, but the question is, will that last forever? What about 40 days from now? Are you going to gain all that weight back and then some? Statistically, probably. So it's like apples and oranges. What we're talking about is lifestyle change forever. This is about real improvement along the way, not a goal down the line, but living well right now and doing things that make you feel good in ways that make you happy. It's not diet, it's not quick fix, it's not the self and the big self.
Well, I'm going to add one letter to that cell, F, self. All right, the big self. This is the problem. One of the things I talked about today in my talk was we have an ideal self and then we have an actual self. And our ideal self often looks like the Freedom Tower over there. We are larger than life in our fantasy. I'm going to lose 100 pounds. I'm going to not only run the marathon, I'm going to win the marathon. Everybody is victim of this at some point. I definitely have been many times throughout my life and probably will continue to be. And what I've had to learn how to do is to check myself before I wreck myself. The shotgun bullets ain't good for your health.
Yeah, no, I know where you're at, by the way. I got the reference. You don't have to.
Yeah, okay,
no, it's
thank
all,
you.
I'm
Thank you
very
for being
street.
my age and understanding. You look
street.
street. I
Yeah,
was going to
very
say,
street.
definitely look street. So we've got this ideal self, and the media, our culture, movies, they promote this ideal self. Look like a movie star. Look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You too can have this body. Look at this magazine. Buy this magazine. Buy this food. Take this supplement. And you too will instantly have this ideal self. But the problem with that is this. The ideal self starts with the letter I. And the I is the part of our brain that's not in touch with the other parts of our brain. Like we have many different brain regions and they each serve a different purpose, different function. The I is disconnected from most of them in most people. And if you go to the Eastern philosophies, meditation, mindfulness practice, they're essentially integrating the different aspects of self. Yeah. So the I is integrated with the emotional self, with the primal self, with the movement self, with the automatic self, so that one doesn't dominate the other, but there's an integration, there's a balance.
Yeah,
exactly. A mind like water that is now resilient. So the I, it wants the outside to change. It doesn't want to change. My body needs to change. I don't need to change. I want to take that supplement so I have some external change in this thing called my body, or this thing called my emotional brain. Give me the antidepressant, give me the Ritalin so that I can change this thing that is problematic because it's getting in the way of my I.
Right.
And in the I is the only thing that leads to long-term change, the transformation of that I.
Right.
But people don't want to change their identity.
That's right.
They don't want to change who they are.
Right.
They just want to change their exterior.
Right. But I completely agree with you. What I do talk to people about, though, is that when you get really deeper into that I and you ask a little, I call it going behind the veil, and you go, what I'm really looking for when I say that I want to be a 50-miler, this, and I want to have a yacht, I think what they're looking at is maybe an acknowledgement that they're not living the way that they want to be living, that they want to be happier and healthier. Then, an abrupt changing of identity, I completely agree. When you go on a diet, you're basically faking living a different way. This is how it looks for me to live this way. I'm going to eat this. I'm a person who eats this every day. But you haven't gotten there. You haven't gotten there yet.
You haven't changed.
You haven't changed. But small stepping it, I call it a wall of behaviors. We all have these behaviors we do every day because they've been there for years. So we get up, we brush our teeth, we do all the things that we do. When you want to wedge new stuff because you want to live better, you're essentially wedging new behaviors in this already established wall of behaviors. That's gargantuan. And if you try to put a massive behavior in that wall, chances are you're going to fail because the wall's already there. So you can make little cracks and little bitty behavior wedges in there, and over time, that creates new behaviors for you. But if you just try to be something different every day and walk around going, I'm this way and this way and this way, you're faking
you make it.
I don't think it works.
And you don't make it.
You don't make it.
You
don't make it,
no.
and you're not happy in the process.
Yeah.
So you start small, and if that's too small, and you go, this is really not, raise it up. Or if you raise it up, and then your life becomes, you lose your job, and you have to change. Maybe you can't do that 45 minutes of exercise. You lower it back down. But you're always taking care of yourself. You're saying, you know what, I'm going to live better now. I'm going to really treat myself well. That's a message that I think people need to hear. Not to be more stressed by trying to live well, but to be less stressed by trying to live well.
And what you just said is totally profound, and to my point, I need to treat myself better.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to.
The I
needs to recognize that the myself is just as important,
that's right,
just as valuable, and you guys need to team up.
Yeah.
The I and myself have to get on the same team and say, hey, we're in this together. Okay, myself, I know you're a little bit slower than I am. I know you can't keep up with me. I'm talking about Freedom Towers, and you're talking about taking a single step that's 5 inches long.
Right.
But okay, I'll work with you.
We're on the same team.
We're on the same team.
Yeah.
How can I help you take that 5-inch step?
Right.
Because I know that the 5-inch step is going to eventually lead to a 50-mile step.
That's right.
Because that's what I want. I want the 50-mile step. How can I help you get there?
That's right. It's the same. We're on the same team. We're all trying to do the same thing. And I think the practice, in a way, I call it a practice. Like I liken my approach to a yoga practice, where a yogi never says, "I'm done. I learned everything there is to learn.
The class is over.
It's
Hours
over.
up.
I got it." They're in a practice. So the practice of treating yourself well trains you for self-care, and it actually, I think, trains you to expect to be taken care of, to be treated with respect by others, to treat others with respect. I think it's got far-reaching implications that when you create the foundation of an ethic of true care, not drugs, I got to make myself feel better that way, like you talked about in your talk, but really taking care of yourself long term, really looking ahead and saying, I want to live better. That translates into who all the people in your life that you affect, and how you live as a person of care. And that's really what it comes down to in your own body. Yes.
Caring not just for your body, but also caring for your mind, caring for the emotional experience that you have as a human being.
Exactly.
It's not easy to be a human being in this incredibly overstimulating world that we live in.
That's right.
With so many messages coming at us telling us you're not enough.
That's it. Yep.
You need our product because you're not currently enough.
That's right. That's right. Because you don't look like the person in the magazine who was photoshopped, who also doesn't look like that. Yeah. You know?
And who is miserable because they're scared to death that they're not always going to look like that.
Right.
Or that someone's going to see them in public not looking like that.
Right.
They're miserable. They suffer.
Yeah. So it's always tearing, it's rechecking in this process and adding these small steps in, to me, is a reminder every time you know, I've had clients where I start them off nutritionally with a glass of water in the morning, or with 3 slices of cucumber with whatever they eat for dinner, because that's where they're at. But when they put that little cucumber on their plate, it's nutritionally fine, but probably not enough to upset the balance of their whatever issues they're having. But they know in that moment that they're taking care of themselves and they're doing something. They're acting. They're actually making an improvement. And that builds self-confidence, it builds self-esteem. They're actually taking ownership of their lives. That's huge for people who feel vulnerable and you know, like they can't get anything done. They're doing something all the time.
And the most important part of that is that they acknowledge that they're doing that.
Yeah.
Rather than looking off at their ideal self and saying, I'm not there yet.
That's
I'm
right.
not there yet. You know what? You are there.
Yeah.
Because that guy at the finish line, he got to the finish line by doing what you're doing right now.
He's the guy doing that. He's the guy in training.
It.
You're in training. You're in the practice. Yeah, he's the guy going, here, do this first.
Yep.
And then you'll get there later.
The moment you acknowledge that, then it has a massive power.
That's right.
But one of the things that I deal with clients as well is they're taking the steps and it's like, it's not happening fast enough.
And you go compared to what? The diet that makes you a false promise? Apples and oranges. It's happening super fast because the fact that you're doing anything is amazing, right? That's how I look at it. Like
and
the
most
fact you're
people
doing
aren't
anything.
doing anything.
That's because they think it's like 50-pound weight loss. It's too gargantuan. They don't even know where to start. It's too big. They want it overnight. They know they can't have it. They say, forget it. I'm just going to eat the way I eat. But the person who starts eating a stalk of celery goes, I'm taking this on. I'm calling the shots here. And it feels good to do it. When you do that, you know it's right. You're like, yes, this is it. I don't need anybody else. I got this. You know? And then they're on their way. It's pretty cool.
We speak the same
I
language.
know. I'm surprised we haven't crossed paths before.
Well, we've crossed them now.
Yes, we did.
Before
Heavily.
you know, we're going to be crossing T's and dotting I's.
And I know more things about you now of what you told me before we got on camera that I just feel like we really know each other really well now.
Yeah, we had a rather revealing conversation prior to the record button.
I would say we're almost BFF.
We are almost BFF.
For what I know.
It's close.
Yeah, we're super close.
All right, so Sid, tell them where we can find you.
SidGarza-Hillman.com, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Strava, all Sid Garza-Hillman. Stanford Inn is StanfordInn.com. You can find out about that, and it's a great place to hang out, and you can come see me there too.
And Running Raw retreats coming soon, most likely.
There's some amazing, I've been trail running in the Mendocino County. There's a ton of awesome trails, so that is something we need to talk about for real.
All right, it's a deal. It's on. Great talking to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Coming to you from the Bluestone Road on Mount Anthony in Bennington, Vermont. This is one of my favorite places in the whole world to run. It's a 4-mile road, all uphill, at about a 5 to 6% grade.